Can Rickey the trucker retire at 60? Part 2. We're going to go down to some more analysis and do some different tweaking of the scenarios to see if we can make this work at 60 years old, which is 3 years from now, to see if he and his wife, Regina, the names have been changed to protect the innocent, can retire at 60, like is what they're hoping to do. So let's find out here. So where we left off before, it didn't look good for old Rickey. He had a 7% probability of success. And again, that simply means did he have money left in his account when he and his surviving spouse, Regina, died? And not likely to happen, given their expenditures of $4,000 a month, plus another $12,000 a year for homeowners insurance and a healthcare cost. Now, a couple of things going on here. We're inflating healthcare at 5% a year. I just always want to point that out. And we're inflating Social Security only at 2.6. So healthcare is going up essentially by twice the rate of Social Security. Whether that's true or not is anyone's guess. But I'm trying to lay the benchmark down to say there are some concerns we have. Does this mean he should not retire at 60? Well, given what we've laid out here before, I would not recommend that. But let's see if we can tweak it around a little bit. And we're also using regular inflation at 3%. So again, Social Security as an income stream is only increasing by 2.6. Inflation is increasing at 3%. And then healthcare is increasing at 5%. So we got, of those three things, one is for us at only 2.6 and two are against us, even higher rates than that. Secondly, actually, I probably didn't pay enough attention to investment portfolio too. Rickey's got 80% prime cap and 20% Wellington or something along those lines. So wonderful portfolio for sure. Heavy in U.S. equities and a little bit international as well. The drawback here is we're only saying about 7.5% rate of return right there. Annual return is 7.5% with a 14.1 standard deviation. So we're not, if you're getting a 3% inflation, 7.5% rate of return, you're only netting 4.5 after inflation. That's not historical. It's historically low. But again, I like to do on the conservative side of things, lay the foundation on the conservative side. If we can look good there on the conservative side, then it's only going to be peaches and cream as we go forward. All right, so let's mess around here a little bit and see what we can come up with. I'm not trying to tweak this in some unrealistic perspective because my man Rickey is a real guy. But I do want to see if there's something we can do to change this around. So let's go down here to our action items. And what we got right now is I want to change Social Security first and foremost. Let's see. If we change it to age 70, we're going to change Social Security. And let's see what that does for us. We're going to go from 7 to 8. So not much of a change there. I'm going to keep the allocation as is, and let's see if we reduce the income to $3,000 a month as opposed to $4,000 a month. So that's a 20% reduction, and that will look at that. So that right there increases it to 45%, just reducing the income needs. Is that realistic? Sure. $3,000 a month is $3,600. $36,000 a year. We still have $12,000 a year going out to healthcare and housing. So are you really spending $3,000 a month on food, putting gas in the car, entertainment? I don't know. I doubt it because he has no mortgage whatsoever. The big thing in Illinois is property tax. But if we look at the tax payment, his income tax payment isn't going to be much at all because it doesn't really have any income coming in. So look at that. Basically nothing from a tax perspective. The taxes the next 3 years, our FICA is what's really eating us alive. But if it's true, this is why I tell people all the time, you really need to account for a realistic amount of spending in retirement, because if we're using $4,000, it's only really $2,500. So remember, $2,500, let's look at that. It's $30,000 a year. That's after healthcare and after your housing. So, if you do $2,500, we're looking at 74% rate of probability of success. So I would say, Rickey, if I give you $30,000 to start the year, would that be enough to put food on the table, put gas in the car, to go see the movie, to take your wife out for Mother's Day dinner and all that? And I don't know the answer to that. And hopefully Rickey does, but it'd be hard to ascertain. It really would. But if it were true, then he's looking good. But let's go back to 4,000 like we initially had. Let's go back to, actually, I want to try something. 3,000 here. And I want to try Social Security at 62 instead. Let's see what we're looking like there. 36. And what was it when Social Security was at 70? Now, I don't just use this number right here to define whether or not you should retire. That's not, and I'll show you with you here in just a second. But I do like to use that as a premise to get my thinking cap on. So, all right. All right, so full retirement, we're going to leave it at full retirement age at 3,000, and then we're going to say 4,000 here, and then we're going to say, what if he worked another 2 years? So, because he did say, because I think I'm going to have to work for another couple of years. So let's see what we're looking at here. Do that. Ooh. Huh. Why did that extra 2 years drop it? That's interesting. Why would that drop it? And we're going to say 60 for Regina. That's interesting. Huh, that doesn't make any sense. Why would that have dropped it from 62 is going to work? Let's just make sure the numbers look good here. Cash flow. So why would that drop it? And he's got those extra income. Yeah, why would it drop his probability of success? That's interesting to me. So let's see here. Okay, income flows. Yeah. There shouldn't be any other income flows, no expenses. You know what it is? It's getting more and more costly. That 48,000 is going to 55,000 by the time he retires. The housing is going to 66. That's what it is, because healthcare retirement. All right, that's what's going on here. Because right now we're not accounting for healthcare and retirement. We're essentially saying right now his healthcare is part of his living expense, if that makes sense. So his company is paying his healthcare, as is he, through his salary. So we have no healthcare. So the longer we go until we retire, the more expensive healthcare comes, because we're inflating that at 5% a year. That's what's happened there. And so you can see his total expenses here are 60,000, but becomes even more as he ages, because healthcare becomes a bigger and bigger burden. Yeah, so I see where that's going. So what we want to do then, we definitely want to change this to 3,000 from 4,000, because if he's spending 4,000 a month right now on living expenses, and that includes his healthcare, which it certainly does. No one's allocating a separate line item for healthcare. When they retire, if we're going to have a separate line item for healthcare, which increases our expenses, no, that doesn't happen. What happens is you reduce your discretionary expenses, which is this right here, and your healthcare expenses increase to make it even out, come out a wash, if that makes sense. So let's see. So good. That's news to me. I did not realize that's how it worked. Yeah, look at that. So that makes sense. So if he were to stay working until he's 62, they'd be in good shape. All right, let's say that. And let's bring her back to 58. Boink. Regina. Yeah, so they're in good shape. So I'm just curious. So what if we did 61? Boink. All right, so that's what's going on here. So we're undervaluing or overestimating his expenses, because we're throwing healthcare as a separate line item on top of his retirement expenses, which we're not dropping down for when he hits retirement relative to this. So if you're spending 5,000 a month right now, and that includes everything, your mortgage, your housing, insurance, your healthcare, and your living expenses, and then you go to retirement, and I'm saying now you're still spending 5,000 a month, but I'm also adding another 10,000 here in healthcare. That's double what you're being billed twice, essentially. So in this case, he's looking pretty good, actually. All right, so would I be comfortable saying he could retire at 61 with those numbers? Well, just see if we can. What we did, I don't know if I'm going to like taking Social Security at 70. Let's see. Yeah, not enough to make me, because he's not paying any tax. So let's see if we took it at 60. Oops. Well, if we took Social Security early at 62, let's see, 50. That's interesting. And what if he retired at 62 as well? Let's just get one more year, and he steps into Social Security. Not much. All right, so if he were to retire now you also got to look at the median, how much he has left in the median. I frankly could care less about this, because there's no way to calculate what that's going to be. It's all based on projections of the market, and we don't know. I just want to make sure that he does not run out of money. We also want to make sure that he's not flying in coach, so his kids can fly in first class, if you know what I'm saying. But if he were to retire at 61 with a living expenses of $3,000 a month, and let's just say Regina stays retired at 58, and he takes Social Security at, I'm going to say at 70, at full retirement age. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, I'm pretty comfortable with that right there. In fact, I'm quite comfortable. Let me show you why. So let's go to cash flows. And we're going to show you here. All right, so here's their expenses. All right, so you ready? So again, this is our proposed plan. Remember, we have him retiring when? We have him retiring at 62 or at 60. We have him retiring at 61. And full retirement age is Social Security. Boink, why is that not proposed? 62. Okay, so they're not adjusted for us in here. Proposed 61. Okay. But when we have them taking Social Security kicking in, that's full retirement age. Okay, I guess that's it. All right. So we have him retiring at 61. So at 61, he has no income coming in. All right. So we have expenses of $5,000 a month, roughly. All right. Don't have any savings. His total outflows are that because he doesn't have any tax. Look, no FICA, no state, no feds hardly. So he has $5,000 a month going out the door. The following year is even a little bit less. I'm not sure what that's about. We can dive into that if we want to. I don't really need to, but roughly $5,000 a month going out the door. The following year, he's got, that might be the last of his payments. I think he has a college loan. Would that be that college loan that's getting paid? Yeah, right there. So that college loan is getting paid off. That's what it is. All right. So if we go back to expenses right there. All right, so now we got net flows of 62,000. So that's coming from his IRA, his 401k, and his savings, coming from his savings, all the way till he's 67, coming from his savings. And then as you can see, he's finally got surplus. So he's got a 401k required minimum distribution here. $7,600 in surpluses, which is being reinvested in his account. So he's looking pretty good. Let's just look at his net worth at this stage. So his qualified assets do drop to a low of 493 before he starts taking Social Security, and they start going back up. Now he's got 543,000 of qualified assets. That's his 401k. And he has surplus because he has to take required distributions to pay tax on that. And that money ends up going over here into his non-qualified assets because he's not spending it. So in that case, he's pretty good. So that's a pretty good place. I'm pretty comfortable with that. People say, but Josh, there's only 65% success rate. Look, I'll show you what I'm talking about. We're 62. And I said, I don't care. And let me show you why I don't care about that. And I have this conversation with people all the time. Here are your expenses right here. Let's do I guess that is your total expenses. Your expenses are, look, you notice there's 60,000 in 2020. There's 68,000 in 2030. They're 95,000 in 2040. And if we keep going down to 2050, they're 132,000. Do you see anything that's odd about that? That they keep going up each and every year with inflation, and the likelihood of that happening is zero. It's just not likely to happen. I don't know, zero. It's minimal. Let's use that. The likelihood of you spending more money each and every year, there's no validity or proof of that whatsoever. The numbers show pretty much thoroughly now to the point where I'm very comfortable saying if you have a 62% probability of success, I'm comfortable with that simply because you're not going to spend this kind of money each and every year adjusted for inflation. Again, we're adjusting 3% for inflation, 5% for inflation on healthcare, and we're only giving you a 2.6% Social Security adjustment each and every year as well. So this is really the worst case scenario. Notice here, though, this is what I find interesting. Here's our tax payment. So you notice they have a tax payment of $16,552 in Rickey's last year of life when they have $169,000 of income. Well, the following year, they got $136,000 of income, but their taxes went up by $3,000, $3,500 to be precise. Why? Because they're no longer married filing jointly. Regina is a single taxpayer, and that's the widow's tax trap right there. Not good, not good. So I'd be very comfortable suggesting Rickey retire at 61 and leave it for one more year. I would definitely want to understand what this number right here is in terms of retirement income. What if we split the difference, hit 3,500? as opposed to 3,000, and it drops down to 33%. I still would not feel that comfortable there. What if we did as early as possible here? I'm just curious to see what it looks like at that stage. Increase it. No, it drops it down. Yeah, that doesn't shock me, just because we're not getting enough Social Security to offset the withdrawals that we got to take from our savings account with age 70. So as we see here today, I would recommend that Rickey hang on for 1 year if we need to, and then take Social Security at full retirement age. That'd be 67, I believe, is his full retirement age, for sure. I'd want to get a better gauge of that retirement spending though. Because I still think 3,000 is probably even going to be on the high end. But let's see here. What if we retire at 62 and she retires at 61 at 59? Just curious to get that extra $35,000. Doesn't do much. All right. So what if we retire at 60 and we're just going to mess around here a little bit. And I want to show you one other thing, and we'll call it a day for Rickey. And 42. All right. So basically, Rickey staying at work until he's 61 is probably the best way to go. Let's do a stress test analysis here real quick. And this is what I find interesting on the stress test is that, let me go back to, I want to go back. Got to go back to 61 and 59. Blink and blink at 59. And yeah, there we go. Okay, cool. So let's go back to this. Should be 62, 65. Cool. So let's go to stress test. And we're going to see. All right. So here he's got 64%, 65% probability of success as our baseline. If the markets fell by 20% in his first year retirement, that drops from 65 to 52. If taxes go up by 20%, it drops it from 65 to 59. The big one is Social Security. If Social Security is cut by 20%, he's going to drop it to 40%. Will be a success rate. So Social Security is a big one. I'm just telling you, folks, yes, you can worry about Social Security. If you don't want to use Social Security in your planning, I don't get it, but more power to you. The idea that the federal government is going to take away benefits from current recipients, one of these days I'm going to do a video. I'll show you the video of Dan Rothkowski. It's just silly. It's not going to happen. But if that's what you want to consider, then more power to you. I just think you're making a big, crucial mistake. Your kids and grandkids, yes, but for you, no. The government never cuts back on your income. Now, they could inflate their way out of it for sure. And you see inflation is a big area too. But in terms of actually taking money from you, it's not going to happen. So that's it. So the market crash is a big one. The reduction of Social Security is a big one. Inflation will be higher by an extra 1%. Well, it's already 3%. So this will be a 4% inflation. Even there, he's still 52.5% success. So I'm pretty comfortable with all that across the board. The big one is the market exposure for sure. I'm just wondering, what if we change the market from this current allocation? I can't match this would improve it, but let's take a look to, we're going to go to more moderate. Let's see. That's like a 60-40. Let's see. And that changes it. We don't want that. All right. So where he's at is probably where we want to be in terms of his portfolio, especially if his Social Security is going to be a bulk of that, 59. So I'm pretty comfortable recommending old Rickey there. Now, again, he still has that home untapped into. All right. So if you look at his total net worth, he hasn't tapped into his home. And again, you can sell it. You can do reverse mortgage. That's your ace in the hole. And let's go to his net worth here. And the net worth is going to be good. I mean, because the house right there is $350,000 of untapped value. So why worry about running out of money when we can tap into that with a reverse mortgage? It doesn't make sense. And so he'll die, or Regina, $1.5 million, of which less than a half of that is a home. We don't want that to happen necessarily, especially if we are worried about running out of money. So I guess that's pretty much all. If you have questions on that, I'd love to hear them. We kind of ran through this, I don't want to say quickly. It took 40 minutes or so, but I'm pretty comfortable giving this to Rickey to say, hey, man, if you want to retire at 61, more power to you. If you retire at 60, that's fine. But just remember, we got to get a better gauge on your savings or your expenditures. I'm curious, what if we retired at 60 and we spent only $2,500? Did we already do this one? $2,500? I can't remember. $2,500? I think we might have. And that'd be $30,000 a year. Yeah. So that's how, look at that. If we can retire at 60 with only spending $30,000 a year discretionary income. He's in a good place. No two ways around it. So I'd love to hear your thoughts, questions, any comments on that. Let me know. And don't forget to subscribe down below. Go to the blog at heritagewealthplanning.com. As always, if you want to read my books, you can go to Amazon. I got links on Amazon. Anything you order through Amazon on my link down below, you credit to me. So I appreciate that. And we'll see you next time. Thanks, guys.